He was elected the youngest mayor in Detroit's history.
The car was shot at over 30 times.
Said they were punished for investigating alleged wrongdoing in the mayor's inner circle.
The city of Detroit, well known for its prominent rich history in the auto industry as well as the music industry. Home of Motown, the city of Detroit is also home to some of the greatest entertainers in the music industry. Not too long ago, Detroit was the mecca of black excellence. But as jobs started disappearing and being sent overseas, the crime rate in Detroit rose to an all-time high. It wasn't too long before Detroit became the murder capital. Not only was Detroit suffering the consequences of job loss, the music industry turning their back on them, crime rates rising, their own government had abandoned them. The taxpayer dollars were not being spent where they should be. Abandoned house after abandoned house, abandoned schools, all the buildings run down. But there was one man who promised to put a change to all of this. That man was Kwame Kilpatrick. Kwame Kilpatrick, once hailed as the hip-hop mayor, was born on June 8, 1970 in Detroit, Michigan. He grew up in a politically connected family. His mother, Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick, was a prominent figure in politics, serving as a U.S. Congresswoman, while his father, Bernard Kilpatrick, was a prominent community leader. Kwame's upbringing positioned him for success, but it also set the stage for a lifetime full of public scrutiny. A star athlete in high school, Kwame attended Florida A&M University, where he majored in political science. At FMAU, he joined a fraternity, and his charisma earned him recognition as a natural-born leader. But college wasn't just about academics. Y'all know it's a popularity contest. You having fun, you're partying. Kwame was that guy where he ended up meeting Carlita, who later would become his first wife. Kwame and Carlita married in 1995. Their union seemed strong as Kwame's political ambitions grew. By 2001, he was elected the youngest mayor in Detroit's history at just 31 years old.
That you will perform the duties as the duly elected mayor of the city of Detroit, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
I will.
The Motor City's fine mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick. Before we go any further, let's make some noise for Joe Dumas for putting this team together. Come on, y'all sound like Chicago. Welcome Joe Dumas for putting this team together. Now, I just have one more request. I've been hearing that people are looking to go somewhere else and play for another team. Y'all know me. I'm in front of them right here. Y'all show Steve how much you love Steve right here in Detroit. Come on, show it.
Now, Kwame brought a modern flair to politics, often blending hip-hop culture, Detroit culture, with his leadership style. He didn't hold back from who he was, which is why people like myself, who grew up on the west side of Detroit, felt like we could relate to him. I remember being a sophomore in high school, and I went out with my dad. We had just left the gym, so we went to this fancy breakfast spot in downtown Detroit. I don't remember the name, but the food was on point, and we ran into none other than the mayor himself, Kwame Kilpatrick. His down-to-earth personality and charisma is what won people over. But behind the scenes, cracks began to form in his seemingly perfect image. In 2002, rumors began circulating about a wild party at the mayor's Manugian mansion. It was said that a lot of strippers was hired to entertain, including one stripper named Strawberry. Strawberry was assaulted during the party, sparking controversy that would follow Kwame for years to come. Now, this story was never proven to be true, but as somebody who grew up in Detroit, I'm telling you, there were people paid to shut their mouths, there were people paid to disappear, and there were people who unfortunately pay with their life.
My mom was a very popular stripper in the early 2000s, and as you can imagine, that industry, you meet a lot of powerful, rich, famous people. My mom ended up having an affair with the mayor of the city, who was married at the time. So, yeah. Things got messy, and the mayor of Detroit's wife actually assaulted my mother. Instead of paying my mother hush money, the mayor decided to pay off cops in the city to murder my mother. There's a lot of key points to my mother's story, but to make things a little shorter, she was murdered in a drive-by with police-issued guns. I worked in the industry myself, so I've met people who knew my mother, seen her around the mayor, and they do not want any parts of my mother's case. So to this day, it's an unsolved murder. There has been many podcasts, news channels reporting on my mother's story, a book written, a play produced, but after so many years of trying to fight for justice, I have been a standing lone wolf.
Well, it is the unsolved murder mired in the scandal surrounding ex-Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick.
Tamara Green was a stripper, rumored to have been at that mythical but never proven party at the Manoogian Mansion shortly after she was killed. Well, now, 15 years later, there's a new push to find her killer. Mara McDonald following this story. And Mara, it seems that the reward has doubled. That would be a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, Devin. We're talking about $200,000 in two separate. Is that enough for someone to finally come forward and say what happened out here 15 years ago when Tamara Green was? She was a mother of three and an exotic dancer. Her stage name was Strawberry. She was rumored to have danced at the never-proven party at the Manoogian Mansion when Kwame Kilpatrick was mayor. She then turned up dead, shot to death in a drive-by shooting back in '03.
Tamara Green murder case. For them, it's personal.
It could have been my daughter.
Make you angry.
Make you real angry, yeah.
There's something that went down.
I believe there was some sort of get-together, some gathering that everybody wanted to keep quiet.
What was so secretive, what needed to be, not exposed.
They sensationalized the whole thing instead of just, working it like a regular case.
Media, law enforcement, everybody?
Everybody. There was speculation that there were some documents that had been hidden. There was some evidence that had been moved. There was some interference by, individuals on the department.
I feel like if he didn't do it, he knows who did.
I would never disrespect my God, my wife, or my children with this nonsense like a rumor at a party.
My mom's case kind of got shuffled under the rug.
Everybody was focused on, was there a party? Was there a bunch of strippers at the party? Did the mayor's wife beat up, Strawberry at the party?
I just want closure. I feel like my mom would do the same for me. She'd do anything she could to find out who did that. And if it was my daughter, I would do the same thing for her.
This story is very deep and it affected a lot of people. I came across Ashley's social media at the beginning of the year, which prompted me to want to do this documentary. Something that stood out to me was Ashley said they never knew who the father was of her youngest sister. Tamara had 3 kids, 3 baby daddies, and they never knew who the last baby daddy was. I'm going to post this photo, this side-by-side photo, and I'm going to let y'all do the math. Y'all give me y'all opinion. That story did put a slight stain on Kwame's image, but a lot of people didn't believe it as there was zero proof of the party. Then came the cheating scandal in 2008, where explicit text messages between Kwame and his chief of staff, Christine Beatty, revealed an extramarital affair. The betrayal rocked his marriage and angered Detroit residents who were already skeptical of his leadership. Christine Beatty wasn't just his chief of staff, she was his best friend from high school.
During the time period 2001 and 2003, were you and Mayor Kilpatrick either romantically or intimately involved with each other?
No.
You and Mayor Kilpatrick sometimes communicated, did you not, by SkyTel messages?
Our whole administration did.
Those are text message machines?
Correct.
And these devices were issued to you by the city?
They were initially, and I believe after that we didn't do it on city budget any longer.
And at that time, the city paid for the monthly bill for these text messaging?
I'm sure initially, yes.
And did you ever use the text message system to communicate messages of a personal nature to the mayor?
No.
Did you ever receive messages from the mayor of a personal nature?
No.
And by personal, I mean messages which were not strictly pertaining to city government matters?
No.
Now, this was crazy, and in my opinion, blown out of proportion. This was the first time you've seen someone indicted for an affair. That's literally what she got indicted for, and because she lied on the stand. I don't know why she thought it was a smart idea to get up there and lie when they already had the proof in the text. But hey, to each his own.
Is there anything you'd like to say before sentence is imposed?
Nearly a year after headlines revealed a City Hall's scandal, the former top aide to Detroit's ex-mayor Kwame Kilpatrick has been sent to jail. Christine Beatty waved goodbye to loved ones Tuesday as she was ushered from a courtroom to begin a 120-day jail stay for obstruction of justice. It's the same sentence Kilpatrick has been serving since late October. Beatty and Kilpatrick were charged with lying about their affair under oath during a 2007 civil trial. By two police officers who said they were punished for investigating alleged wrongdoing in the mayor's inner circle. The officers won their case, but the scandal didn't break until a year later.
So there was a few police officers who Kwame fired because they were investigating him. And they weren't even fully investigating. They was just doing a little bit too much digging into the mansion party and a bunch of other things that the mayor was into. So he got them fired. They sued him for retaliation and they won their case. Now this case is what opened the floodgates to the mayor being investigated. See, the problem with a lie is you got to tell another lie to cover up that lie. And the problem with a scandal is you got to create another scandal to cover up the first scandal. Kwame was just way in over his head, trying to take out any and everybody in his way.
Perjury charges. Those are felony charges.
Kilpatrick and Chief of Staff Christine Beatty denied during testimony in August that they had had a sexual relationship. But the records, nearly 14,000 text messages sent on city-issued pagers, show they had an affair.
The messages also contradict their testimony that they did not fire Deputy Chief Gary Brown in 2003, an ouster that led him to sue. The text messages show Kilpatrick and Beatty discussing the, quote, decision that we made to fire Gary Brown, end quote.
Kilpatrick and Beatty's relationship and Brown's dismissal were central to the whistleblower suit filed by Brown and Harold Nelthrop, a former police officer and mayoral bodyguard.
Beatty, the former top aide to ex-Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, has been released from jail after serving 69 days for obstructing justice. In 2007, Beatty and Kilpatrick were accused of lying in court about a romantic affair and their roles in firing a police official.
Together, when asked by host Dea Direct why she never left her husband after his affair with his former chief of staff, Carlita said she didn't really know.
I've told Kwame I can't really answer that. I don't know if there is an actual answer, but for God and the faith that I have in our union and just my belief that in love.
Kwame Kilpatrick's answer was different. He said any discussions of divorce were quickly squashed by their oldest twin sons.
We wouldn't be sitting here but for them, though. Our big boys, especially, told us very early in this process that there's no way we letting y'all get divorced. Came right to us in the room and said y'all can get divorced.
Still, the former First Lady said she felt betrayed when the man she called her soulmate repeatedly lied to her about his affairs.
The lies, just the, because I knew that he knew that we were meant for each other, and so I felt like that with that knowledge, there just didn't seem the need, even in the anger or the frustration or whatever, it didn't seem the need to then, venture outside.
It didn't take long for the conversation to turn to Christine Beatty, Kilpatrick's former lover and chief of staff. Kilpatrick said he no longer has the feelings for her that he once did.
It started as a friendship and then ended on the absolute wrong course. But, of course that, I care about her and her children and want them to be okay. But it's not in a way that, a loving way of, I want to be with her or I want to have her as my mate.
Perhaps most surprising, Carlita Kilpatrick said she's avoided reading the embarrassing text messages that almost destroyed her marriage.
I have not actually read them. Whatever I've seen has been, I guess, what has actually, come on the news.
Kwame's fallout didn't stop there. Kilpatrick was indicted on charges of perjury, obstruction of justice, and misconduct in office in 2013. He was convicted on 24 federal counts, including racketeering, extortion, and bribery. Sentenced to 28 years in prison. Kwame's political career came to a devastating end. I hope y'all are enjoying this series. But listen, y'all, this series is just beginning. We are not done. This is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 so y'all can find out how President Trump got involved in all of this mess. If you are new here, please do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to reach my goal of 10K before the end of the year, y'all. We can do it. We can do it because I've had over 20,000 of y'all tuning in to me for the last week alone. So if y'all just hit that subscribe button, I can meet my goal. Comment down below. And yeah, drop it in the comments and let me know if you're ready for part 2.